Wind, wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. You are very clever at poking fun at weaklings. Frail crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. The wind god knows and crosses them all. He won't do what you tell him. So come, let's build strong homes. Let's join the doors firmly. Practice to form the body. Make the heart steadfast. Do this, and the wind will be friends with us. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. Hello students, welcome to CMI's online classes. You all are with Pravesh sir, and today we will start, explain, discuss and understand the second poem of our English text, Beehive. The title of the poem is Wind. The poem was originally written by a great Tamil poet well known for his patriotism during pre-independence era, Mr. Subramania Bharati, and was translated into English by A.K. Ramanujan, a Kannada and English poet well known for his translation of classical and modern poetry. We all know wind is a natural phenomena which occurs on the surface of the earth. In this poem, the poet talks to the wind. The power of wind has been described, and the poet says that wind is destructive. Actually, the poet has linked destructive power of wind to the adversities of life, to all the problems and challenges that we face in life. The poet says that the weak people break down, but stronger people emerge out of adversities stronger. The poem gives an important message that we should be mentally and physically strong in order to survive in life, as we face many ups and downs, challenges and hardships in life. A weak person breaks down like a weak building and crumbles. We must make these destructive forces our friends with our strength and determination. So students, now I am going to explain the poem line wise. The lines I am going to explain has been separated according to the focus the poet wants to emphasize upon. Okay, so the first lines I am going to explain reads like this. Wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. You are very clever at poking fun at weaklings. Here, the word weaklings refer to the weak persons, and the phrase poking fun means making fun of something. Here, making fun of weak people. Understood? Now I am going to explain these lines. In these lines, the poet is talking to the wind. He asks the wind to come softly. So he is saying that the wind should not be strong and loud. It should be soft and subtle. Then he says that the wind is very powerful and it is destructive. It breaks the shutters of windows and scatters the papers. When the wind is very powerful, All the books which are kept on the shelf fall down. So here the poet is describing the power of the wind. Then he says to the wind to look at the destruction that it had done. Whenever there is a strong wind, all the things that are weak, like small plants, tiny children, etc., they all get scared and they can even fall and get hot. We can say that in the initial or the beginning part of the poem, the poet is referring to wind as a young child. He is saying that it should come softly just like a child does. In the later part, we come to know that the wind is destructive like a youth, just like a young boy or a young girl who is full of energy, violence, and destruction. And now I am going to explain few other lines from the poem, and these lines read like this: frail crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. Here the word crumbling means falling down or to cause something to break down. And the word rafter means the sloping beam, the sloping which supports the roof of the buildings. Here the word crumbling is repeated so many times to lay stress that everything crumbles or breaks in the face of a strong wind. So the poet is saying that when wind is very powerful, it leads to the breakage of everything. Houses which are weak fall, doors which are weak fall, the weak beams on which the roofs of the buildings are supported, they also fall. All the wooden structures, all bodies of people fall. Animals, lives, hearts, they all fall. So the poet is saying that everything crumbles, destroys, or gets destructed. Everything that is weak reacts by falling down and breaking in the face of adversity. So the poet is saying that whenever a weak person faces any adversity or challenge in life, he breaks down and falls. Now, the another line from the poem which I am going to explain is: the wind god winnows and crosses them all. Here, the word winnows means to break grain free of chaff. That means to separate grain from husk by blowing on it. And here in this line, the poet is addressing to wind as wind god, and he is saying that the powerful god of wind winnows. That means he shifts all the people, and those people who are weak fall down and get crossed. So here a comparison is made between wheat, that means grain, and people. Just like we winnow the wheat to separate grain from chaff, the wind god separates the strong people from the weak people. Understood? Now, some other lines from the poem I would like to read to explain it. See, these lines read like this: he won't do what you tell him, so come, let's build strong homes. Let's join the doors firmly, practice to form the body, make the heart steadfast. Do this, and the wind will be friends with us. Here, the word steadfast means to become firm or strongly fixed. Here, in these lines, the poet wants to make friends with the wind, that is, the adversities in our lives. He says that the problems will not listen to us, they will come anyhow. So, we should be prepared. In preparation, we should build strong homes and close the doors of our houses firmly so that the wind cannot get into it. And then the poet says that we should also make our bodies strong and hearts firm to face these challenges. And then, once we are strong enough, all the challenges will be like friends. We will not feel that they are troublesome. And now, finally, I am going to read out some lines that also mark the end of the poem, and I am also going to explain these lines. And these lines read like this: the wind blows out the weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. Here in this line, the word flourish means to grow. In these lines, the poet has kept the wind on a pedestal, on a structure, or a basement. He is comparing the wind to God. He says that wind is God and we praise wind every day. He adds that everything that is weak gets finished off in the face of the strong wind, and all the things that are strong flourish and grow to become stronger. The poet is giving us a very important message that we should not feel bad that we are facing so many challenges and adversities in life. We should make ourselves physically and mentally strong to face these challenges. And once we are strong enough, we will overcome the challenges, we will become friends with them, and then we will be happy that we had these challenges in our life because they help us become stronger and better. So I hope students you all have understood the complete explanation of the poem. This was all the complete explanation of the poem. So now we will move ahead that we will see what are the literary devices or the poetic devices the poet has used in the poem. Okay, so we have found that the poet has used anaphora, personification, repetition, alliteration, and symbolism. These literary devices the poet has used in his poem Wind. So, how do we identify these literary devices in the poem? So, I am going to discuss it. So, listen to my explanation very attentively so that you will also be able to understand about these literary devices and will be able to find out or identify these devices or these literary devices not only in this poem but whenever you are reading other poems also you will be able to understand that about all these literary devices. Okay, so let us move ahead to find out how to identify these literary devices in the poem. So first we will discuss about anaphora. Okay, so anaphora, what is anaphora? We have to understand it first so that we will be able to find it or identify it in other works also, in the works of other writers also. Okay, anaphora, see, when a word is repeated when a word is repeated at a start of two or more consecutive lines. It is the device of anaphora. That means when a word is repeated, when the same word is repeated after a line or after two lines, then it means that the poet is trying to put emphasis on particular explanation, okay, that we should come to know about. So here what is anaphora is, if you see line 2, 3, 4, it starts, the lines start with the word don't, and if you see the lines 6, 7, 8, the lines start with you, okay. So here lines 2, 3, 4 begin with don't, and lines 6, 7, 8 begin with you. So these don't and you, these two words have been repeated in these lines. So we can consider this you and don't have been used as anaphora, okay, because these words have been repeated to put some particular emphasis for the explanation of the poem done by the poet, okay. So these are the examples of anaphora. Now let us understand personification. So what is personification? Personification is a literary device used by the writers to personify or to treat any non-living object or any abstract object by giving them a human figure. That means treating any abstract idea or any non-living object a human figure, okay. So how the poet has given a human figure to some objects here, let's see. See here, in the poem wind has been personified. The poet has been personified wind as a person. How? See here, when the poet says you are, if you read the poem again, it is said the poet has written you are, and here the poet is referring to wind as you. Here the word you is used for the wind, okay. That means the poet is treating wind as a person. That means the poet is treating wind as a human figure. So here the poet has personified the wind by treating it as a human figure, human being, okay, because we know that wind is not a living object, okay, but here it has been given a human figure. So it is an example of personification. Now repetition. See, repetition is the repetition of words. So here in the poem, if you read it, the word crumbling is repeated many times by the poet, okay. It is used or repeated by the poet to lay emphasis on his explanation, okay. The poet wants to say that the wind crosses everything that is weak. That is why he repeats the word crumbling, okay. So word crumbling is here repeated to put on the focus of the power of the wind, that anything comes on the way of the wind. If those things are weaker, then they all will get crushed under the feet of the wind. Now let us discuss about alliteration. See, what is alliteration? See, alliteration is the repetition of a consonant sound in close connection. In close connection, that means if we are writing a phrase or two words or more than two words, if these words start with the same consonant sound, then these are called alliteration. So here what is the example of alliteration here in the poem is wind winnows, okay. Here if you see wind winnows, here two words are there and both words begin with W, same consonant, okay. So it particularly start with the same consonant sound, wind winnows, okay. And the other is won't want, same. Here also two words begin with the same consonant letter W. Okay, so these are the examples of alliteration. Understood? And at last, the last literary device used by the poet is symbolism. Symbolism. See, what is symbolism is? Symbolism means that the thing refers to some other things. When we refer one thing to some other things, then it can be treated as the thing is used as a symbol. Okay, or we call it the literary device symbolism. Okay, so here wind is a symbol. The title of the poem, Wind, itself is used as a symbol. Okay, because it refers to the challenges in life. See here, wind stands for the challenges in life. The poet is using wind as a symbol for adversities or problems in our life. So the wind is used as symbolism, used as symbol. So it is the example of symbolism. Finally, these were the 5 literary devices used by the poet in the poem Wind. Now, to speak about the rhyming scheme of the poem, we don't have any rhyming scheme. We cannot find out the rhyming scale of the poem, because the poem is written in free verse. Free verse means if you see the words in each line of the poem, we don't see the words rhyme to each other. Okay, because if we are trying to find out the rhyming scale of the poem, we focus on the last word of each line of the poem, whether they rhyme together or not. Depending upon the rhyming sound of the word of the last word of the poem in each line, we identify the rhyming scale. But here we don't have any rhyming scale, because the poem is written in free verse. Understood, students? We don't have any rhyming scheme in this poem. Now finally I am summarizing the poem. Okay, students, so listen carefully to the summary. So I am here to summarize the poem. The first part of the poem describes the action of the wind. The poet asks the wind to come softly. He requests the wind not to break the shutters of the windows, not to scatter the papers and throw down the books from the shelf. But the wind throws the books and tears the pages. The poet says that a mockery, a fun of weaklings, that means fun of weak people. It brings down frail, weak houses, crumbling doors, rafters, and even weak hearts. It crushes everything that is weak. The poet advises us to be strong. Only then we can save ourselves from the wind. We should build strong homes with firm doors. Our bodies and hearts should also be strong. It is the way of the world to kick the weak and to be friends with the strong. The wind blows out the weak fires but makes the strong fires roar and flourish. Thus the poem conveys the idea that nobody cares for the weak. Even the wind is on the side of the strong people. We must make ourselves strong to become successful and overcome the challenges in life. So students, this was the summary of the poem. I hope we have discussed enough that will make you all understand the concept of the poem very clearly. Thank you so much, students. I hope now you are able to do the related exercises from the poem.